this is the problem. This is our brain. That's a big enough problem as itself, that our brain is just a bowl of cherries. But in reality, what we've now learned is that our brains are only capable of a certain number of thoughts in a given day. So as we begin to devote thoughts to stress at work, as we begin to devote thoughts to violence in our societies, as we begin to devote thoughts to our own maybe financial problems, we are left with fewer and fewer cognitive resources with which we can do things like address our own education or deal with our own personal relationships. So when we think about what is the problem that we need to address for individual students, well, obviously, bullying can be very physically and emotionally painful. And those resources that those bully victims devote to that pain, devote to their bullying situation, detract from those other resources that they could be spending on learning in your classrooms, on being better friends, on being sons and daughters. And as a result, we see that the effects of bullying can have lasting impacts, not just on the victims, but on the bullies and the bystanders. It can affect their physical and emotional health and their academic performance well into adulthood. But it's a useful analogy to also talk about when we think about teachers. Bullying is compromising the learning of your students because they can't focus on your education plans when they're worried about what's going to happen in between classes or on the recess. But also think about your own brain, your own bowl of cherries. Bullying is adding another complex problem to this ever-expanding list of things that we're asking our educators to think about and be concerned with. Cognitive resources that I know you'd rather devote to reading or civics. I've been talking a little bit about cognitive resources and the brain, but we can apply the same analogy to our institutions. Our institutions are a lot like this bowl as well, a lot like our brain, and that they don't have unlimited resources. Bullying is being treated as a crisis, and that's requiring a response from the institutions. They are having to take time to address this. It's going to require new policies and new procedures, and taking those is going to take time and resources. And bullying deserves an intervention. We all agree about that. But as I've been pointing out with my analogy, there are so many other things that you need to think about and worry about. There are so many other things that you need to devote resources to. So I need to let you know that the organizers of today's conference, following the direction of Nicole Stanton, are very aware that this bullying problem that we're going to be talking about today needs to be addressed in a way that supports all of your other academic endeavors. It needs to fit with what you're already doing. You're spinning plates. You can't control and put your focus only on that spinning bullying plate because the other plates are going to fall. So here's our challenge. As today with this conference, we begin the process of developing the strategy because as you've heard, this is just the first step. We need to come up with an evidence-based practice that prevents bullying while at the same time doing everything that Superintendent Huppenthal said. We need to treat students as complete people, not just as bullies and victims. They're students, they're athletes, they're friends, they're sons, they're daughters. We need to nurture those individual abilities while respecting those individual differences. And that's the challenge that we're going to hopefully pick up today and keep moving forward.